Welcome to the Candid Conversation Show. I'm your host, Marilyn Fontaine, artist and creative coach for women who want success and income with ease. Hi, this is Marilyn and welcome to the Candid Conversation Show. Today I'm going to talk about my journey with plant medicine using ayahuasca, and this was something I took 2 months ago out of this country, and it was a weekend retreat, and I'm just going to speak about it in a very kind of simple terms without getting too over deep and spiritual with it. What I will say is it's something that you cannot really put into words because it is so out of our normal comprehension. And so, you know, we see these paintings that people do from an ayahuasca journey, and I think they capture some of it. I think they capture most, but I think it's something that you cannot explain with words alone, you know, engaging just the mind, because it is such a physical, spiritual, emotional, intelligence, I would say, that it just gets to the truth. And it's not for everybody I'll take that back. It may not be for everybody, especially if you're really associated with your head. However, what ayahuasca does do is she takes you out of your head, and if your head's ego identified, that could be like a baptism of fire. But I'm going to talk about what the insights I got. I'm not going to explain the whole ceremony because I think that it needs to be a longer podcast, and I feel like trying to explain how my ceremony went, or the ceremony I attended went, it's just gonna, it's just gonna make people feel, if they go to a ceremony and it's different, that their experience won't be the same. So I'm not going to speak about that. What I will say is that I went in there with a kind of a clear intention and no expectation. So my expectation was open. All I wanted to do was to get guidance with a specific issue that I had. And boy, did it take me to another level. And for me, it's a very different experience to psilocybin experience that I had before. However, the message was exactly the same. So, and the message was around my work. It was around my art. It was around my story. It was around getting my work into the world. And this keeps coming up no matter where I go. And it's always in my subconscious when I go into my own meditations around my work. So it's about 5 hours, this process. And you take the medicine twice throughout that night. And when I took the medicine the first time, I started to get that feeling that I normally get, where I could just feel things just changing in my body. Like after 10 minutes, I really go into a space quite quickly, and then I have to go through these. I have to go through these almost like part of me, which is my defense system. So I can really see myself holding on. And when you take a plant medicine, your vibration changes. So you go from one, the physical to the next level, to different dimensions. I don't know, the third, fourth, fifth dimensions. And so that period of transition can be quite disturbing, or it could be quite uncomfortable. So, and with ayahuasca, you do purge with ayahuasca. So, but that normally comes, I think, when you get a revelation of something. And so I'm just trying to think about the first one, because I've done this twice, this experience twice, and I was met by the consciousness, Mama Aya, but I didn't see her. I just felt a presence and, different colours and stuff like that. And then I was shown my heart, how it was. I was still feeling emotional because my heart was broken from my last relationship, and my heart was taken out and cleaned and then put back in. And I was told that, why am I holding on to that? Why am I holding on to that relationship? So their children in the school. Why am I holding on to that relationship? Because it wasn't anything really to be holding on to after all this time. Basically, she's quite dry. She's quite, to the point. So I was told, why am I holding on to this relationship, and just to let it go. I was also told to let go of a story that I had in my head about a particular situation from childhood. That never happened. And I needed to let go of that. It wasn't my story. And then I was shown my grandmother. My mum, I never knew my grandmother. My mum was an orphan. So I was shown her, my grandfather, and my mum's story about how my mum felt about herself. And this is where my heart just felt like it was breaking, and all the resentments I had against my mother and why she was like the way she was. And what happens is you experience all these feelings. I experienced all these feelings, her own feelings. That was really hard. And I was told to tell her, that I appreciate her, and that, she's done her best as a mother, and all these different things. And then I was shown various family members and what was going on with them. And then I was shown somebody I know and who was really sick. And I was given instructions to, give them information, what they could do to make their situation better. So this person was more energetically sick rather than physically sick. And, again, experiencing that was something as well, because it was, you get, you feeling that person's sadness or frustration. So that was really hard. And then I was shown some stuff, not to do with me, which wasn't so good, but it was basically, this is what has been in your consciousness and it needs to be released. And when I saw that image, I purged. And what this experience taught me was that we absorb, especially empaths, we absorb experiences, and when we think that we're walking around with certain feelings and experiences, they are ours. They're not our experiences. They are experiences of the people around us, and we absorb it like a sponge, and therefore we're carrying that around us, and then we believe it to be ours, and then we start attracting those experiences. So, for example, if somebody around you has been physically, emotionally, or sexually abused, and it's not happened to you, you absorb that, and that becomes your story. And then you attract those situations to yourself because you have absorbed it into your spirit, your essence, and your soul. Sometimes if something has happened where somebody has been pregnant and they've gone for a traumatic situation, like our parents, then you will absorb that as well. And so that becomes your biology, because there've been, studies about people who experience trauma and how it's passed down in the DNA. And I mean, that information came in the second journey that I went on, about transference of trauma and emotions from DNA through sex, through conception. So I was holding all these things, I absorbed it, and it just made me purge it out of my system. And then I was shown about my artwork and putting my work out there, and not forgetting the goddess mother, the creator, the feminine principle that has been denied and has been hidden. And I got that same story when I worked with psilocybin. And this is not made up, because this is what my art is about, the divine feminine. If I don't even like to call it the divine feminine, because that word has been used so much commercially, so it just feels like it takes out the sacredness of it. And so I was showing my work to keep telling the story about the hidden feminine, the goddess that used to be worshipped. And this isn't about pagan and all the other stuff. This is just about, the mother of creation. You find it everywhere. And to keep sharing that story and putting the work out there, and do it unapologetically. And so I thought, well, what about, my coaching and my other work? And I was just shown that the work I'm producing is the work, and I will be guiding through my work. So that's not to say I won't be doing coaching, because the offer is there. But as it turns out anyway, my focus at the moment is my art, and that's how my business is. It's governed by what the world needs and wants from me, because I'm a vessel of truth and creation. I'm a vessel of truth. And it was really, really clear that I was shown the work you've been doing is what you need to be doing. Your creations are really important. That's why you are here. That's why I'm here. And I've known this anyway. And without sounding arrogant, because sometimes I have to forget, it's the ADHD brain. We're just so hyper-focused in certain thoughts that it comes across as a really arrogant feeling. But yeah, it's very much about just being clear and just being honest about what I'm here to do and how I'm here to inspire others. And so afterwards we danced and we shared stuff, and we shared about experiences, and we talked about what to expect for the next few days. And then I went home and booked my sister when I returned back to the UK. But what I will say is, this experience was so powerful that it's changed a lot for me. I'm still processing. It's changed a lot. And if there's one thing that it has done for me, it's re-anchored me back to my ancestors. And when I had the second experience, it was a lot around my ancestors on my dad's side, because the first one was more about my mum's side and the women, and the second was the ancestors around my dad's side and what had happened to my, the ancestors, and seeing what happened to them from slavery. And that was really heavy, very heavy. I'll probably write a book about it. It was very heavy, but it was necessary, really necessary, because again, it was my DNA, aspects of my DNA that needed to be cleared. So that was the experience. And if you really want to have an experience, let me know. There are different places and spaces where they have that experience. But what I will say is that it's really, I don't know why everybody doesn't have this experience. It's not for everybody, because not everybody believes in psychedelic medicine or plant medicine, and I respect that. So, but I do think that it's so important if you have a deep trauma, which is most people these days, because it really gets to a place where, we sometimes don't want to look at. It's too painful, and it will just help shift that in a way that is necessary. But I do believe that you need to have the right support around you, and if you're around, if you've got people that you can talk to, I think it's really important to have that, because integration is quite important. They say taking ayahuasca is like 10 years of therapy. Well, we live in a very quick results society. Like, let me get it quick and let this happen for me really quickly. And you've had years and centuries of something, and I just think there needs to be wisdom put on our healing, and therefore it's as much as this is a necessary medicine, it's because of our modern day behaviours, we need to make sure that we have the support when we're doing this. But I definitely recommend it. It's not it takes a level of awareness or courage, but I feel like we're in a state of crisis in the world, so I think that is a great motivator, if anything is. And yeah, so that was my story, and I wanted to share that because I work with trauma, and I work with creatives, I work with trailblazers, and I feel it's really important to know what drives us, and it often is trauma. Often is trauma that drives us, as well as a desire to change and make something better in our lives. So let me know how this podcast, how you find it. Saying that, I do have spaces open for trauma sessions. I'm seeing very limited amount of people because I'm concentrating on my art. But if you are interested, let me know. Bye for now. If you want to be part of an incubator of some amazing creative women, then you need to join the Highly Capable Creative one-to-one program with me. To join, you can just contact me at www.mjfontaine.co.uk and book a sales call with me to join this amazing 6-month program where we get to work on your creative business. We also get to work clearing your blocks, and also bringing that confidence up to 100 so you can stand in your agency and live your best life.